Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha, and here we are during the Easter weekend, and yesterday, as you know, was Good Friday, which is believed to be by the folks out there I guess the crucifixion day, and Sunday is supposed to be tomorrow, supposed to be the resurrection. Anyhow, I guess these are penned in stone just for through the church history, for people to believe that they are the death and resurrection. However, the facts are on the ground a little bit different, and I think I've spoken about this in the past. I don't really think it needs to be reiterated that when the death actually occurred, when the Passover week was in that year, when the death of Jesus really happened, and when the resurrection was. Again, excuse me. Again, if you look in the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls Bible, you will find this information is shared in there, and that Bible is available from Amazon, Lulu Press, etc. So that's why I'm not going to just reiterate it. And again, if people want to believe that Friday and Sunday are the death and resurrection, that's fine. That doesn't really affect our truth of the Torah in any particular way. It doesn't really affect us at all, to be honest, because that's not something that you need to believe to have your let's say salvation and other things that you believe that you have. So happy, I would say, to those people that are celebrating the Passover, the lunar Passover, Jewish Passover, I would say happy Passover to you. And those that are celebrating the Easter, I'd say happy Easter to you. So moving on, as you know, a lot of things are happening in America. Our president is, he's busy putting tariffs on nations so that they can, people who want to sell stuff over in America, because America has a big economy, and if people want to sell their cars here, their other goods, and you and me will both know that everything that we buy in America, I'd say maybe not wrong to say that 90% of it comes from China. And the cars that come into this country, a lot of them are made in Mexico, then shipped over here to be sold. Then there is Canadian makers, they make cars and ship them over here. Then we have our own makers, people who make them in America, like in Detroit, Michigan places, and they also make cars and then they're sold in America. They're kind of made in America, but there are cars that are made in Mexico, labeled made in America, that are technically not made in America, but come from Mexico or Canada or maybe some other place, made for America. But you might be surprised to learn that there is a company called BYD in China that makes electric cars and very fancy cars, sports vehicles and other things, and a lot of those cars are not allowed to be sold in the US. By the way, they are better than Tesla, apparently they're better than Tesla, and or I should say allegedly. And also there was a car that I was looking at, a clip on Facebook, that it showed the car was doing like a little jump, in the BYD model, doing a little jump and doing dance, like it shakes, left, right with this suspension. And they have flying cars, and BYD also produces some kind of a Jeep in competition with the G-Wagon 63, which actually is supposed to be better than the G-Wagon. It can even swim through water. So a lot of that, and as you know, after this tariffs, a lot of what happened, China opened up and said, we make everything, Louis Vuitton bags, then you got all the shoes brands, Jordan shoes, Nike shoes, Adidas, all of them are made in China. And probably the cost is not as much to make them, whilst why you pay big dollar over here. I mean, a Louis Vuitton bag was allegedly, that's made in China, cost $1,400, top notch. Same bag that you buy over here for $38,000 is going to cost you $1,400 to buy from the maker in China. then there's other products, and let's just say Air Jordans. Air Jordans, if you buy from China, you're looking at maybe, let's just say $70, versus the same product over here, maybe $300 to $400, something to that effect, and maybe sometimes even less. So a lot of that's been going on in social media after these tariffs started. So that's what's been happening in the media. Now, I wanted to tell you something of interest that might be a tidbit and of interest to you. Did you know, and this is news to me recently as well, did you know that a cat can step on, when a cat is passing through in a home or outside, it can step over anything it wants to. Cat is a cat, right? It can step over trees, and it can step over your sofa, it can step over your whatever, your settee, your floor, everything. But a cat can step over books, normal books, but a cat will not step over a holy Quran, a Muslim holy book, and the cat will not step over the Torah. Did you know that? A cat will not step over those books. Now, I don't know about the New Testament because I've never tested it, and I don't know if a cat will step over it or not, but I do know that a cat will not step on the Torah and it will not step on the Quran. Why is that? Is it because a cat knows that these are religions that people believe in? No. The reason why a cat doesn't step over, and even a cat has been seen bowing and kneeling in front of these books. Now, in the past I have said so many times that the Quran has 70% plus information direct from the Torah. So again, I'm not going to, like some people, rubbish it or call it bad names. I don't think it's appropriate. So a lot of the information there is direct from the Torah, and therefore, you give respect to the people who want to believe and do the things they want to do, and that's perfectly fine. Now, why is a cat not stepping over a Quran or stepping over a Torah? And the reason that is believed is that a cat is very sensitive to frequency, and a cat can recognize that these books have certain frequency that the cats just know it. I mean, it's not to do with holy names, like, we say, well, God's name is this and God's name is that. It's nothing to do with the names or the letters, but the cat just knows that these books contain a certain amount of frequency, and I guess it's to do with God frequency, and because they recognize it, innately they recognize it, and they refuse to step on these books. But they can go around them, or they can bow in front of them, or they can even sit beside these books, but they won't step on them. That, I found that very interesting, and you may find this fact very interesting as well. So that's, just something to know about. Now, these are high frequency books, and probably because there's information in there that is, you and I both know, is truthful. A lot of truthful information there. Now, coming back to Jesus, Yeshua, and of course, this weekend is celebrate. A lot of people are celebrating. A lot of Christians, Catholics, etc. They'll be celebrating Jesus' death and resurrection. So how does that? I mean, maybe in the Western world, Easter has become more to do with bunny and, I guess, chocolates and Cadbury's eggs and all that. Not in the West, in the East, by the way. Maybe in the West, but not in the East. In the East, a lot of people are very religious. They go to churches, they go pray, and it started on Thursday. The prayer started on Thursday and Friday and then Saturday and then Sunday, etc. So they take it very seriously, they take it very literally, and they do, their places are packed with worshippers. Now, I want to bring you back to Jesus, and I want to bring you back to a passage in the book of Luke chapter 8 verse 18. Take heed therefore how you hear, for whosoever has, to him shall be given, and whosoever has not, from him shall be taken even that which he seems to have. Now, it looks like looks like a very crushing statement, that how can God take away from somebody even the little that he has, and how can God give to somebody so much? If he has already a lot, then how can God give him a lot more? How can that be? It seems to be a very contradictory statement, but the statement is actually true, in that it's talking about the law, and it's talking about how that law operates around people. Now, a lot of you may not understand that, and maybe in the manifestation world, in the law of attraction, law of assumption world, people understand that a lack means that what you have will be removed from you, and abundance means that what you have, you'll get more. That's basically what it's talking about, is lack. People who often live in lack, they get taken away from them what they have, and money don't seems to stick to these people who stay in lack. Now, I know that this is not the case with people who are listening to me, but outside of this camp, there are people who live in that environment. Like my wife's, I have my wife's relatives. There's a few of them that they're always talking about lack. They're always complaining about, don't have money, this and all that. They're always doing that. And what seems to happen is they get more of lack. They don't get abundance. And this is what I wanted to clarify. What does that mean, and how does that affect us? And I wanted to say one thing, and I think that you will understand why I'm saying it, is that you must, now all of you, because some of you who are going through trouble, who are going through difficulties, I want you to come out of that mindset. What is the mindset? The mindset is this, that God is maybe punishing me, maybe I've committed some sins or something else, and maybe that's my punishment. And the answer is no. It's not that you committed a sin. It's not that God is punishing you. It's none of that. It's actually the world you build around yourself, because you live in a hologram, plastic universe, hologram. This all around us is a universe that we have projected from our brains, and our eyes sees this universe. So how does it affect us, and how do we make it so that we get good results from it? Well, that Luke 8:18 is a key passage to understand that, is how not to live in lack. Because those that live in lack will often have problems in that area. And those that live in abundance will often continue to receive abundance. And sometimes what happens is people, a lot of people, they are upset. They are upset because they say, well, why is God taking away from me? And how come, other people in the world, like, the billionaires, name some billionaires, maybe George Soros, maybe, Elon Musk, maybe some other billionaires, and they will say, how come those billionaires, they get more, and what we have gets taken away? And how can that be? And so they feel upset, and they feel that, it's not fair, and they shouldn't be, why should they be, and why we shouldn't, etc. I think the problem is that we, when we believe that, we live in the wrong mindset. Why? Because, the people that are named, Bill Gates, and there's many billionaires, you can add a whole host of them to your list. And these are just for reference point. I'm not criticizing any of them. I'm just saying as a reference point, some of these billionaires in the world, Mukesh Ambani, Adani, they are multi-billionaires, and some of these billionaires, they do a lot of good work. Like they might build hospitals, they might build schools, they might donate to charity, and big money, not small amounts, maybe in the millions of dollars. So what happens is, from their abundance, when these people give, they give from their abundance. Like a billionaire might build a hospital that cost, let's say the hospital costs $50 million. and the billionaire built it for, the Joe public and donated it and said, okay, now you can start collecting donations and you can run this hospital and, I'll give you a head start. So what happens, the billionaire has given from his abundance, the $50 million or so, as an example. Whereas a man, let's say a man has $100 in his wallet, and somebody passerby, I don't know, beggar, whoever passes by him and says to him that, could you please give me a dollar for food? But that man don't care about him. Okay, he has $100 in his wallet, maybe loose change, maybe 250s, maybe 520s or whatever, loose change. And the man ignores him and just walks away. So why should I give you money? And just walks away. So from the money that this man who carries $100 and maybe carries $50, he doesn't want to even give a dollar out. So what do you think will happen to this man who don't even want to donate a dollar to a person who is hungry on the street? And the answer is obvious. This passage, Luke 8:18, applies to that kind of man. Therefore take heed that how you hear, for whoever has, to him more will be given. So the person who donated $50 million for a hospital will be given more of that. Whereas a person who refused to give $2 or $5 from his 100 or $50 that he had to the poor on the street, even that 50 will be taken away. That makes perfect sense to me. Let me tell you why. Years ago, when I didn't even own a house, I didn't own a car, I was maybe 16 years of age. Maybe I was 16. Okay, let's say I was 16 or 17, something like that. I was going to, I was walking through the road. I was going through the road, and I don't know who it was, came up to me and asked for some donation. And I remember I only had a £5 note in my wallet, only a £5 note. In those days we had the £5 in the UK, and now we have it as well over there. So what I did, somebody was asking for money because they were poor, maybe because they needed it for whatever, food or whatever. And what I did, I took the £5 out that I had. That was my whole, whole asset. £5 is funny, but that's all I had, right? And I wasn't working at the time. So, or maybe, when I say I wasn't working, maybe I was out of one job and going into another possibly. But I didn't have the job at that time. I distinctly remember I didn't have the job. No, I think it wasn't when I was 16. I didn't have a job. I was looking for a job. I didn't have no job at that time. I had £5 that my mother gave me as pocket money. Okay, so what do I do with that £5? I take the £5 out, all of the £5. That's all I had in my wallet, and I gave it to that man or that woman that asked me. I gave it to them. I said, hey, take it. So I gave everything that I had. Okay, and here I'm giving an example of somebody who has $100 in their wallet and they refuse to give $2. So because because this person with $100 refused to give from his lack, therefore that $100 will be removed. But the person who gave from his abundance, like the person who's a billionaire, he gave from his abundance, he'll get more. But the person who gave from the goodness of his heart, that would be somebody like me or you give from the goodness of your heart, then God will reward you for that. You know what happened for that £5 that I gave? Well, I was looking for a job, and I got 3 jobs. Yeah, I got 3 jobs. I gave the £5 and I was offered 3 different jobs, and I took one of them and I started my job. And where my career started. So, what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is not how much you have, is where is your heart with that money that you have. Is your heart in the right place, or is it in the wrong place? That's the moral of the story. So, what's the other moral of the story? Well, before I give you the other moral of the story, let me tell you another story. There was a Muslim guy. This is a Muslim story, by the way. There was a Muslim man. His mother was ill. And what happened, he was going to go to the hospital to visit his mother, who was suffering from some serious illness, serious disease. And so he's walking through the road, back home somewhere, and there's a cat on the road, on the side of the road, that is, maybe she's involved in an accident, and the cat maybe had a leg, injury or something, and she was meowing over there with pain in her leg and couldn't walk. And all the passers-by are going through with their motorcycles, with their cars. Nobody's stopping to even think about the cat. And this man sees the cat and he stops, and he thinks, I need to help this cat. She looks like she's suffering and struggling. So what he does, he picks up the cat and he puts the cat to one side. He then asks that there's a milk shop nearby. He asks the man to give him a milk in a little container, and the man puts the milk in the container. He tells him I want to feed the cat. He then goes to the cat and he feeds the milk to the cat. And the cat's very hungry. The cat, laps up the milk and finishes it. And then the man, kind of goes on his merry way, and he goes to hospital to his mother, and just to see how his mother's doing, and his mother who was very serious for whatever she had. When he goes there, he sees that his mother is in good health, good standing, and is puzzled. And he asks his mom. He says, "Well, Mom, how you doing?" And they were meant to do an operation on you and all that. What happened? So she tells him. She says, I fell asleep, and I had a dream, and in the dream I saw a cat, and the cat was three-legged. In other words, is an injured cat. She had three good legs and one bad leg, and the cat, in my dream, she gave me a blessing, and she said that, she prayed for me and said, may you be healed. And the doctors, they looked at me, they did all their tests, and they says, nothing wrong with me. I'm okay now. I can go home. So, what's the moral of this story? The moral of this story is this, and this is, by the way, a factual story. This actually happens. Whenever you get visited by a cat, I tell my wife this all the time as well. I say to my wife that if you see a cat around our home, back home, I tell her that you must feed her, but feed her the best. Don't just give, bits and pieces and just throw a little bit bread to her. I said, no, give her the best that you have. If you have meat in the fridge, give her the meat. If you have milk, you give her the milk, because that's what they like to eat. So, and my wife does that, by the way. What my wife does is, there was a cat that was coming around. I think it was a black and white color cat, and so she told me that she gave her some milk, and she gave her some food, and then there was a dog, a female dog that would come. She put her name Puffy, and she would feed this dog, stray dog, and she would feed her every day. So the dog started to come, this female dog started to come and sit on the yard, on the side, and she would stay there, and then my wife would just go and feed her with the milk and whatever and some food. And I told her, I said, listen, why don't you get some bread and milk, you already have, and you just mix the milk and the bread like you used to give to our dog when we used to have a dog, and you just feed her this, and she'd be happy. So she was a small dog, not a big dog. So, and my wife started to do that, and then she kept doing it, and then one day the female dog was pregnant, and then she gave birth to, 5-6 puppies, and then the puppies she brought, and they were like on the side of the house somewhere. Then I don't know what happened afterwards, they kind of disappeared. But the thing is this, that we are supposed to be kind to animals. And if we are kind to animals, then that brings good, abundant energies into your homes. God returns the kindness, remember that. So we are supposed to be kind, and you should also be kind to creatures, because God created them, God put us in charge, and we must be kind to these things. And you might say, well, in America we don't have stray cats. Maybe you're right, but in India you have stray cats, in Bangladesh you have them, in other countries you have them. So maybe not so much here, but back home we do have these animals that are don't have a home, don't have food to eat, and I think that we need to give consideration on those things. So, because they can bring blessings into your home, even in America, by the way. I have seen a cat over here go through, and my friend has been feeding the cat when she comes. Now she don't come that often, but when she comes, I would tell her to give us some food. Then she will go and she will give us some food. Because I tell her that, I said, listen, you give the cat food and you'll get prosperity. Because cats leave you a blessing. So remember that. If you have stray cats, or if you just have cats that visit you, give them some food. Give them the best you have. They will leave you a blessing. By the way, that is factual. It's not just by the by. So let's talk about the mindset now. We were talking about Luke chapter 8:18. What is the mindset? Well, here is a mindset issue. The mindset issue is this, that if you believe that consciously or unconsciously, if you believe that something's going to happen, then that something will happen. It might unfold tomorrow, maybe day after, maybe it might take 10 days, but it will unfold. So don't ever believe in I won't use the word negative, but let me put it this way. Let's say we're looking for a job, okay? People that are looking for a job, people that are looking for a house, people that are looking for a new car. What I will tell you is this. If you're looking for a job, believe that you have a job. Refuse to hear anything other than that you are a working man, that you're a blessed man. Refuse. If anybody says to you, you're unemployed, refuse it. No, I'm not unemployed. I'm actually working, and you just don't say it. Even if you're not working, you could say that. Because you refuse to be entertained with any negative word by the person who's trying to put you down and saying that you don't have a job. You say, no, I have a job. I've always been working. And they say, well, where? What do you mean, where? You just don't see it. And just leave it at that. Because refuse to listen. Continue to tell yourself that you are a working man, that you have a great job, that you have a great salary. Refuse to listen. Listen to me today. You got to make this a habit. This is not a one-day event. You have to make this a habit. And I will also tell you this. This is only for my students, by the way. This is not for everybody. This is only for my students. And if you want to know the secret, you have to contact me for that at my email address, or you got my WhatsApp or whatever. You can write to me there. Shimon63@yahoo.com. Okay? Shimon63@yahoo.com. SHIMOUN63@yahoo.com. Now, you might say, how do I manifest a car? How do I manifest a house? And I will give you the secret to that. But again, like I said, I'm not going to give it on air, because enough information are given on air and people don't appreciate it and people don't respect it. So yesterday, again, something happened yesterday. I have a friend here in Ohio, and I asked her a question, and I said, you're looking to buy a new car, right? You'd like a certain kind of car. And she said yes. And I said, okay, I'm going to help you get that car, but you're going to have to do exactly what I tell you, and you will get your car. And I said, you will get your car within the next, I'm not saying you're going to take 5 years. I said, you're going to get your car within 6 months, but after you do this. So she said, okay. And so yesterday I was a little bit busy, sorting that out. So why did I do that? Because it's good to help other people to achieve their dreams. And what is it that I'm trying to say? You never want to hear from people who give you negative talk. Like, first of all, let me tell you something of interest that you may not know. And I'm going to use a story from the Bible as well, because we have this listed in our books. let's talk about speeches. In the yoga language, in yogic terms, there are 5 types of speeches. One type of speech is like I'm talking to you now. This is one type of speech. And that has the lowest frequency, in terms of affirmation. If I was doing an affirmation out loud, I am a millionaire. By the way, that has the lowest frequency. Okay? So, what if I was doing the affirmation like this? I have $1 million. I have $1 million. If I whisper that I have $1 million, what kind of frequency does that have? Well, the frequency with I have $1 million versus spoken loud versus spoken whispered has frequency almost to 12,000 something. 12,000 something is a frequency. Now, what if I imagine that? What if I close my eyes, or even with open eyes, I imagine that I have $1 million in my account? Well, the frequency now multiplies 12 by 12, so it magnifies to over 100,000 plus. Okay? Because the visual has even more powerful frequency. So, what if I suppressed it? What if I knew that I have $1 million in my account, but I suppress that information? You might say, how you suppress it? Well, there's ways to suppress it. Let's just say I suppressed it. What's the power of the frequency? Then the frequency multiplies even 144 times 144, it probably goes into millions. It even becomes more powerful. So, what does that mean? Okay, here comes the interesting part now. What that means, right, is this. What we are taught by our parents and by our people around us is do not speak the negative, but speak the positive. Right? Isn't that what we are told? Always speak the positive words, don't speak the negative. And guess what? By speaking the positive words, you negate the frequency. In other words, you lower your vibration. But you're hiding or you're not speaking negative words, you increase their frequency. They get magnified. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Right. It should be the other way around, right? Means that you should not be speaking your positive words. You should be whispering them or hiding them to yourself, because then they will magnify. But you should be speaking the negative words. Why? Because then their vibration will come down in power. So, you see anything negative in this world, speak it. Speak it out loud. Don't worry about it, because you will reduce the frequency of that, and it will lower in frequency and it will lose its power. It's totally the opposite of what we were taught. It will lose its power. When you have a positive word, don't speak it, hide it. Let's say you want to get a car, right? You don't tell everybody. Not until the car appears and is parked in your driveway, then everybody gets to see it. So don't tell everybody. Why you don't tell everybody? Because you will increase the frequency of that by not telling everybody. By hiding it, you will multiply the frequency hundreds, thousands, millions of times. Hide it. This is why you do not want to tell about your things that you desire. For instance, you desire $150,000 or $200,000 job. Don't tell everybody about it. Otherwise, you lower the frequency. You desire a 4-bedroom house. Don't tell everybody about it. You desire a brand new car. Don't tell everybody about it. Hide it. Hide it, hide it, hide it. By hiding it, you magnify the frequency. It becomes more powerful inside your mind. But if you speak it, you lower the frequency. Now ask yourself, have you been lowering the frequency? Have you been magnifying the frequency of negative by hiding those? And speaking the positive, lowering the frequency? And I guarantee you the answer is going to be yes, you've been doing that. A lot of us are guilty of that. So next time, be mindful not to do that. Now coming back to Jesus' words, of abundance and lack, only want to hear what you want to hear. If you want to hear that you are working a $200,000 job, if that is your belief and if that is internally inside you, like you believing it inside you, you believing I have a $200,000 job, maybe it's an affirmation, right? Or I'm making $250,000. Then you want to keep it to yourself, hide it, keep it internal, bottle it up. Yeah, bottle it up. But keep saying it to yourself. Keep telling yourself every day, I have a $250,000 income. I have $250,000 income. But don't speak it out loud. Don't even whisper it. Say it inside your mind. Remind yourself every day, I have $250,000 income. I have $250,000 income. I have $250,000 income. I have $250,000 income. Whatever you want to cement into reality, you only want to hear those words. And that is where the Bible comes in, where the Torah comes in, where our prophets come in. And you might say, well, how does a whisper one work? Whisper prayer is very powerful, by the way. And I will take your attention for the whisper prayer to remember the whisper prayer of which prophet was it? Prophet in the Bible. And there was a whisper prayer in front of Eli the priest. Remember? Remember or not remember? Okay. The whisper prayer was the mother of Samuel, Prophet Samuel. His mother, she whispered a prayer, and in this moment, and let me actually see if I can pull that up. Let me find it. Let me find it in the book of Samuel. Give me a moment. Let's see. 1 Samuel 3 is Eli, and in 1 Samuel 1, it talks about a certain man of Ramathaim. His name was Zophim, on the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Eliyahu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite, and he had two wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. Now, Hannah was a mother of Samuel the prophet. Hannah goes to the tabernacle, to Shiloh, and remember, Eli was the priest. He had his two sons over there, and that was a Levite clan. And what we see, that Elkanah, who was a husband of Hannah, he would often go there to make an offering. It's spoken about the offering. And by the way, it says that the man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the great I Am in Shiloh. And also the two sons of Eli, one was Hophni, one was Phinehas, and it tells us that there were the Levites, the priests of Elohim. And it says that whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions to his two wives and to all his sons and daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although Elohim had closed her womb. So she went up to pray in Shiloh, and she was very upset because her other sister wife, she would often mock her because she didn't have children. And so Hannah was very upset, and she goes to the door, to the door of the tabernacle, and she was very bitter, and she was praying to God, and she, was weeping, crying, and then she whispered the prayer. And if you remember the event spoken about in Book of Samuel, it says that she was there whispering, and Eli the high priest thought that she was drunk, but she wasn't drunk. Eli thinks that she is drunk, and Eli asks the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest, he asked her. He says, "How long will you be drunk?" put your wine away. But then Hannah answers him and says, no, my master, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have neither drunk wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before God, that do not consider, before Elohim, do not consider your maidservant wicked, a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. So she was whispering. He didn't hear her whispering. Whisper prayer is very powerful, by the way. And what does Eli tell her? Eli tells her, go in peace. The Elohim of Israel grant you, the God of Israel grant you petition, grant you your request, which you have asked. And she was granted, by the way. So that is a solid example in our books how powerful whisper is. So when you are doing affirmations, and you're doing your affirmations daily, let's say you choose a time, and I would advise you to choose a time. Maybe you choose, and I would suggest you choose a night time. Let's say from 9 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night, you choose one time, 1 hour, to do your affirmation, and I would suggest you do it with whisper. Don't do it loud. Yeah, don't do out loud, but do whisper. Your whisper affirmation will have much more power. If you were affirming, I have, then whatever it is you want. I have $50 million or whatever it is you want. I have a brand new car, or particularly with the model and everything. Then whisper it. Whisper will magnify the power of that affirmation. And then you visualize it, it will even multiply it more. And then you suppress it, then you get even magnifying the power immensely. Suppressing it means that you basically detach. So in this story, we got one example, and I just wanted to prove to you that her prayer was answered. What does that tell you? That if you whispered your affirmation and you were sitting there whispering for 1 hour, I can tell you that you're going to get your desire very fast. Why? Because whisper has a power. And when you do it in the moonlight, you do it at night, when there's a moon is available, it was even more powerful at that time. The moon will amplify the power. So think about next time, think about doing it like that. Now, coming back to the lack and the abundance is, you never want to hear, in your case, when you want something, like if you want to own a home, and you already decided that you want to own a home, it's 4 bedrooms, it's, a house in a particular part of the country, particular part of the city, and so you say that with exact terminology. Okay, I have a house in so-and-so, or I have a 4-bedroom house in such and such place, and it will work for you, provided that I would suggest you write a list every day in the morning, and before you go to bed at night, or however you sleep, it doesn't matter whether you sleep at night or whether you sleep in the afternoon, you write it. If you're on shifts, you write it, and you write, how are you going to write it? You're just going to write 4-bedroom house, and then write the name of the estate where you want it. So for somebody I'll give an example of New Jersey. For somebody in New Jersey, I have a 4-bedroom house in New Jersey, Roselle Park, like the state name, like that. And that way you get your house. You write it every day, it cements it, you believe it, you keep telling yourself, I have a house in Roselle Park. I have a house in Roselle Park. I have a 4-bedroom house in Roselle Park. Yes, I have a 4-bedroom house in Roselle Park. When you tell yourself that, you will have it. Same principle applies to a job. You tell yourself you have a $200,000 job. I have $200,000 job. I have $200,000 job. And you keep reminding yourself, keep telling yourself internally. Don't speak it out. Don't shout it out. And you don't even need to whisper it. You can whisper it if you're doing it at night, doing your affirmations. You can quietly whisper it. But when you're just sitting around, just minding your own business and going through your day, then you can say in your mind, I have $200,000 income. I have $200,000 income. I have $200,000 income. So do not entertain any other thought that says, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you do not entertain it. Why is that? Well, it's very simple. We are taught and we are told in the Bible, in the book of Acts, that God is no respecter of people. In Acts chapter 10, verse 34, we are told that God is no respecter to any person. In other words, what that means is God is not going to say, oh, if Elon Musk does that prayer and is a billionaire, I will answer his prayer. But if that person on the street who only earns 150 a week, if he does that prayer, I won't answer it. No, God is not a respecter of people. God will answer the prayer for you, whether you earn 100 million or whether you earn 100,000. He will answer your prayer. Why? Because God is not a respecter to people. He doesn't trump one person against another. This ideology, by the way, is totally false and it's not true. Now, I don't want to elaborate further than that. Because I think it's very evident that what you continue to tell yourself and what your senses believe to be true means a knowing, you know it, and you know it, that you are earning that money. You know it. When you know it, that you're earning that money, it will come to you. Even if your senses deny it, even in the 3D, when you look around and you say, maybe sometimes a thought comes and the thought says, well, you're not earning $200,000 income. And you tell yourself, no, I am. I am making $200,000. So stop lying to me. Stop whispering to me. I'm making $200,000 income. So you tell yourself, you negate that thought, or you can do it the other way. You can say, you're just a thought. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm earning $200,000. And so when you do that, when you continue to tell yourself, you continue to not believe the 3D. Maybe your wife tells you that you're not earning that much money. Maybe your friends tell you you're not earning that much money. You don't care about it. You continue to believe against the evidence to the senses. To the contrary, you continue to hear that you're earning $200,000. That you're earning $200,000. And remember, the law never fails. So your God consciousness will one day turn it so that you are earning $200,000. Because why? Because you refuse to believe the voices. You refuse the naysayers. You only believe the voice that said you're making $200,000 annually. You only believe that voice. And maybe I say annually, maybe that $200,000 might be for the month. You're making $200,000 a month. And you're happy with that. That's what you want to believe. So stick to it. Don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. Because this falls into that chapter. To him that has, that shall be taken away. To him that doesn't have, or to him that has, more will be given. Why? Because cementing the belief. You must cement the belief. Because Jesus also said in Matthew chapter 5:17, I have not come to destroy but to fulfill. So, nothing is destroyed and everything shall be fulfilled. So, when you continue to believe, when you continue to cement the reality that God is blessing you, God is giving you blessing, and you continue to believe it, you continue to dominate your mind. It's a mindset battle. It's only in the mind. If you continue to believe it, God will bless you. So with that, I'm going to say, thank you for listening to me on this Passover / Easter term. I wish you all a wonderful holiday. And until next time, you have a great time. Until we speak next time, shalom, shalom to you.